Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm going live about now. I've already seen a comment making fun of me yesterday, which was super funny, actually. I believe it was Max or Steve, whatever, saying stream days in a row. And I'm like, yeah, believe that. There's going to be a third in a row. But then I'm taking a week off once again. But I did warn you. So at least my hiatus isn't going to happen completely out of the blue like it usually does. Yeah, I'm actually really, really glad that I have found time and energy, all of that. I met my aunt. She had an appointment here in Berlin. So I'm in a really good mood. We have some great weather, some lovely rain. The last few streams went really well, just in terms of live viewership and afterwards viewership. So thank you guys so much. I actually do want to continue today where I mostly left off yesterday, which is I do want to react to Zolotech's big in-depth breakdowns of the new operating systems. I might actually start today though with macOS because it's a smaller video, going to give me a little bit of an overview of how long it takes me to react to a Zolotech video because I've never done that before, and maybe after that we can actually try to tackle his 40 plus minute iOS 27 video. I have iPadOS and macOS 27 installed, so that hasn't changed. I have not relented and installed it on my iPhone or my Apple Watch, and I'm still not on the whitelist, so I'm still on the waiting list for the new Siri AI. I might do the workaround. I found the terminal input that you need to do for it, but I'm also willing to wait, to be honest, because if I get it over the weekend, I'm gonna still be busy on the weekend. So yeah. Already see plenty of familiar faces in the chat. KSP Wonder saying yo 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 and sending a king emoji. I hope you mean me. I hope you mean my glorious king hair. Please ignore this space where I'm not quite 14 years old anymore. My hair is definitely running a little bit away from me, despite usually being my pride and joy. I also left, guys, because I'm seeing my own message in the live chat, I also left the link to our stage call in the Discord because after long promises, if you guys are willing to join there and we can try it out, leave a message here, tell me you are in Discord, and depending on my own time and my own mood, I'll join you there, put you up as a speaker. I myself should be live there always, but I'm muted, obviously, because what's the point? You guys can listen to me on YouTube where it makes me money. Not much though, believe me. Also see Rosa joining in chat saying hello, and Benveni saying hello, saying I'm waiting for my dentist now, so I assume you won't be calling in, but very glad to have had you over the last couple of days. I know your schedule is not always permissive of you joining, so that means a lot. KSP wonders saying my hair is even worse. Well, I do hope your hair is even worse because my hair is actually still pretty good. It's just this one spot. Like everything else is quite nice. Now the central spot is not quite as thick as it used to be in terms of like hair density, but it's still good. I'm still mostly happy with my hair, and I hope it hasn't actually gotten worse in like the last 6-7 years. It just happened almost overnight when I was like 22, 23, had like a stressful phase for once in university, and then like boom, my hair got a little bit thinner. But that's not why you're here today. In fact, I'm gonna make myself a little bit thinner right now to show you everything that I've kind of prepared, or at least I'm willing to react to, and everything that I've kind of been consuming in order to get the proper overview of everything that's relating to the WWDC 2026 releases. Even John Gruber posted some stuff that I found not too bad, but then he randomly decided to pick a fight with Mark Gurman. I'm actually not sure how deep I have to dig. Oh yeah, here, like, so there is like you know how the meme, it's like the worst person you know made like a good point. What's funny here, I don't even think Gruber made even a particularly good point, but Gurman is also not the best arbiter in the Apple community, in my opinion, though in my opinion better than Gruber. But it seems like Apple has kind of gotten cozy again with Gruber, which I know he seems to have an actual personal relationship with the likes of Greg Joswiak. So it's not surprising. But honestly, if I were like as an entity, a company entity like Apple, I wouldn't have like gotten together again with Gruber. Obviously, there's a ton of tidbits still coming out on 9 to 5 Mac rumors. So whenever there's something interesting here that I might miss otherwise, we can do it like that. But obviously, most stories right now are just summarizing everything we see from Apple anyway, right? So for once, we do not actually have to rely on rumors and leaks. It's just us getting really deep into the details of a lot of official news, right? Santi4260 saying hi. Hi, don't remember ever seeing your name in the chat. Always nice to see new names. If you have been here before and I just missed you, well, then you're still welcome here all the same. Guys, this should be about it for the intro rambling. Went a little bit longer than usual, but I did want to say a proper thanks, and I did want to give you all the opportunities for you to know how you can engage with me. And before we get fully started, I want to give a plea out for you guys to do the YouTube jazz, as we call it around here. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it out with anybody who you think might enjoy it. Comment live via the super chat. You can also leave via the live chat. You can also leave super chats or super stickers with small donations. That goes a long way to support the channel. You can become a channel member right here on YouTube or a Patreon supporter. Shout out to Mark Tech Pro and Mark Tech Pro Max members. And of course, just communicate with me on Discord, on Twitter. Plenty of opportunities. Usually my workday allows me to occasionally look at that and makes it much more likely that I'll engage with you guys there than like here on YouTube, for example. And as always, tell me what the tech quality is like, audio and video, if there are any delays, if there are any major issues, because I can get pretty paranoid about it. We had some major technical issues during the actual WWDC live stream, but most of those issues should now have been solved. It's because those issues weren't even related to me. Those were actual issues from my home internet and then YouTube itself. But yeah, keep me informed, especially when later on we react to a YouTube video, or maybe we take a call in or something like that. Let me know if there's no double audio or something like that. KSP, I think there's a big change in the indexing algorithm. My iPad has been indexing ever since I updated after WWDC. Yes, so this is actually there's no thinking here to be done on your part. You can relax your head, KSP. Apple even said that right on stage. So there are a couple of things that have been deliberately rewritten. And in fact, this is why I actually think that some cutoffs have been pretty drastic, like for example on the Apple Watch. It's just that Apple wrote newer code deliberately for newer core architectures, and for the iPhone they were especially generous by giving even older iPhones a lot of that. So the things that they mainly changed are like the CPU scheduler and the indexing algorithm, right? The CPU scheduler was responsible for the instantaneous performance, or at least the faster performance versus before. The indexing changes are necessary to keep Siri fed with all the data, because it's now indexing so much more information from your photo library, from your context, from your calendar entries, your notes, your reminders. So there's a lot that is happening there. And yeah, it took my iPad also a while. In fact, there's now a call out for this. I almost wonder if previously there was also a lot of indexing, but we just never really like took it that way, because now indexing shows up in the settings app, so you know when indexing is happening. And in fact, Apple also calls you out and tells you that if you're doing more charging, then that helps with indexing, because while you charge your device, it has more power, so it's much more likely to start a more demanding background task like indexing all your internal data. And this is why not only a first of all, a new major operating system will always do more indexing, because there's much more file changes. But especially with iOS 27, where there's not only the changes of the broader operating system, but specifically a change in the indexing algorithm, that's going to take you a while, especially over the first week or so. But I would also expect that with every new beta, it will have to restart the indexing. It will do the indexing anyway, like reasonably often, of course, to keep your device up to date. This is why I always recommend people, please don't try turning your devices into like, oh, 2-day battery life, 3-day battery life. Just charge it freaking overnight. Let it run between like 20 and 80%, or maybe if you need a little bit more juice, like 20 to 90%, even sometimes maybe 20 to 95%, right? And now your device will be capable during the night to handle all that stuff. Plasma Void saying, hell yeah, another stream. I know, man. Like, I've been called out on that. I was joking already, like in the comments of the last video. It's like, oh my God, 2 streams in a row. And yeah, guess what? Now it's 3 streams in a row. But afterwards, I'm taking a week-long hiatus. Benveni saying, my dentist is calling me now. You'll be back in 30 minutes. Well, good luck. I hope that it's only a 30-minute quick appointment. It doesn't turn into anything longer. Not the biggest fan of dentists. KSP Wonder saying, yeah, I left it plugged in all the time. Yeah, that's very good for especially for a new, very volatile beta, like a brand new developer beta for a big new release. Yeah, so there's plenty to consider. And this is why I also always call out, like, install betas not only at your own risk that something can go catastrophically wrong, but also understand that a beta will just have quirks, not necessarily a negative experience, but like you will see something like that indexing stuff, right? Which, yes, that's new, and I assume it will also probably be there in the actual OS, but just be understanding of it, and then you will also have much more fun. This is, in my opinion, installing the betas, to me, is the Apple platform, Apple ecosystem version of Linux, right? You know how the Linux guys are like, oh, it's not actually the fault of Linux, you just don't know how to use it. And how some people are even very gatekeepy, saying, if you're not very technically proficient, why are you using Linux to begin with? Or why are you using this version of Linux? Why are you using like Fedora versus whatever else, right? And I feel like the betas can be partially that, which is, first of all, they do attract the most tech savvy and interested of us. And then the other point is that when the betas happen, there will be people complaining, oh, I've seen people say like, oh, my beta killed like this or that feature. And I'm like, who are you telling this to on Twitter, right? Like this, it's the first freaking developer beta. I'm not even sure if Apple is currently taking that kind of feedback right now. Like, I'm sure Apple knows a billion bugs right now in developer beta 1. It's just like, accept it, right? This is why it's also fun to use that in a virtual machine, in a partition or something like that. I know it's not obviously something you can do with an iPhone or iPad. For that, you would have to use like something like an older hardware model, right? Like maybe you yourself use like the latest iPhone for yourself, but then you might have an iPhone 11 or 12 right now. I have the iPhone XS, so unfortunately that one is stuck on iOS 18. quite crazy that the iPhone 11 is actually 2 versions ahead, and it actually got to a performance enhancing version, so it's going to be much faster by the end of it than the iPhone XS. Yeah, just I'm not saying you accept everything. Obviously there's a reason why Apple asked you for stuff like feedback, but you should understand that a beta is a beta, and that can be super fun, super new, but also catastrophically bad, and basically everything else in between. Plasma Void, looking forward to well-rounded analysis. Yeah. Also, I've been postponing watching both the Zolo videos you mentioned, so I can watch them here with all you instead. That's awesome, man. Because I do actually want to get to those videos really quickly, so we don't end up like meandering like yesterday. I think we spent a little bit too much time with the MKBHD video, which honestly didn't tell us anything we had known before, which shouldn't really be surprising given that Marquez's video are aimed at the general audience, and you guys are not that. You're very special. I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but yeah, you guys are truly special. But we are also, and we should be understanding of that in the best way possible, we here are a special breed, right? With our love of super nerdy discussion, super in-depth stuff. And we aren't even the worst. Obviously, there are people who can get way nerdier with tech, who are engineers and developers themselves. But I think when it comes to not those professional groups, we definitely are the most special kind. KSP wonders, did I try 007 First Light? Bro, I'm loving it. I just didn't have much time to play it as much as I wanted to. I think I'm like 7, 8 hours into it. It's amazing, and it looks so good on PS5 Pro, and it runs so well. This game, I believe I posted that on Discord. Like I said, it made me hate Unreal Engine 5 because this game, I believe it's it's the engine that's used by IO Interactive. I forget what it's called. This engine is so good, and it looks so good even without most demanding ray tracing effects, right? It's just very good screen space, but because of that, it's not just, it has high internal resolution, and then it uses PSSR2. It has great material quality, though some textures in the game are relatively low quality, which is weird to me, but that also keeps the game file much smaller than games usually are. It's like 50 to 70 gigabytes. I forgot how much. Yeah, it's amazing. Highly recommended. Yeah, you're waiting for path tracing because I believe, KSB, you were the one who had the 5070 Ti, right? So it does make sense for you to wait. But obviously on my PS5 Pro, it doesn't make sense to wait. Plasma Void, I've actually kept Siri and Apple Intelligence disabled permanently on my Mac. Hopefully it can still fly under the radar with less background processes. Well, you can, yeah. Like all the same structure in settings. And again, I cannot show you my settings because it shows my real name. Thank you, Apple. I probably should start using a guest account during streams. But you can still disable all of that stuff from Siri itself to Apple Intelligence. But I did try out some of the new Apple Intelligence stuff, so hopefully I will be able to comment on it while we watch like Zolotech's video. The new features, they're actually legit. Now, they're not perfect in the sense that obviously, to redraw an actual human's anatomy beyond like whatever you see in an image, it does look uncanny valley or uncanny eerie, right? But it does get the perspective switches correct. It does get like even lighting changes correct in that regard. And especially if you're willing to use something like perspective shift with artificial objects and not humans, or, well, I guess a pet should be mostly fine. And also, the new cleanup is just as intense as like the Samsung models, the Gemini stuff. It does all that crazy redrawing, which honestly goes a little bit too far for me, makes it a little bit too artificial. But if you want to rely on those features, they are now there, and they're absolutely top of the line. They take a while to do, so take a little bit of patience. Granted, now that was on my M1 Max MacBook Pro. Now I know some of it runs through the cloud. Some of it, just the image scanning, I guess, and everything, I think that's on device. But yeah, I'll have to run some experiments, maybe try it out in airplane mode and stuff like that. Yeah, indexing is unavoidable and okay. I suppose indexing, don't forget, is also not, yeah, you're mentioning it already. It's not just for Siri to access your stuff, but even for Spotlight search to access, yeah. Give Mark a like and also click the share button, Plasma Void, during the YouTube jazz, so I don't have to do it in the middle of the stream. Very, very much. Thank you very, very much. KSP Wonders, yep, finally donated some money to NVIDIA. Well, if you can donate money to Jensen, KSP, you can also donate some money to me. I'm not a freaking $5 trillion company CEO. Yeah, and Plasma Void, the features are kind of neat. Yeah, they are neat. They're exactly that. Right, I think neat is the correct way, because I do think they're just the right amount reserved to not push fully artificial imagery. This is where I disagree with Apple allowing real imagery or photorealistic imagery in the new image playground. But this is what, unfortunately, the audience wants. And quite honestly, I even did some thought experiments, and I was asking myself, what would Steve think of that? And honestly, what I came down to is, I think Steve would love agentic coding. I think Steve would just use agentic coding. Then in the morning, let's say he does it during overnight, right? And my thought experiment was like, well, what would he do? Well, he probably would come up in the morning to the team and said, look, guys, what I developed as a non-developer in a few hours, you guys have been working on something I ordered you to do for a week or a month. You guys are freaking fired, right? Like, maybe he wouldn't outright fire them, but he would definitely give them some fire. And I think that his stance on AI for general people would be like, play around with it, whatever, develop some creativity, maybe use it for something more brainstormy rather than a final project. And then I think his thinking on actual artistry, including writing for that, would be an absolute no-go, right? Like, oh, you can use AI for like grammar and whatever, right? And maybe for research, but I think he would be completely anti-AI in actual professional artistry, movies, TV shows, even photography, but he wouldn't be against it just being used on content and media by regular people. That's kind of what you guys can tell me, am I totally wrong on this? I've seen some people discuss it on Twitter, so I kind of sat down and let my mind because I read his biography, and I do obviously know a lot of like meme stories about him, and I was kind of trying to insert AI into these stories and thinking like, well, how would AI change some of the dynamics between him and creators, him and like professional studios, him and his own engineers, and that's kind of what I came up with. Let's start with macOS video. Before we start with the macOS video, I do want very quickly to go through the Gruber stuff. So from the annals of people having knowledge of the matter, Siri AI extensions editions, because as you guys know, Siri did not get, or Siri AI did not get extensions in the sense it did not have ChatGPT integration, it does not have Claude integration, or even Gemini. So he's quoting here Mark Gurman, who said 2 months ago that it would be getting these features, that it would work across the new Siri app, but also other stuff like in Apple Intelligence itself. And to be quite honest, from what Apple wrote about the DMA and how they have communicated with the European Union months ago and offered an 18-month transition plan where other AI companies would get offered to all of this, would get access to all of this, I think that Mark Gurman actually was correct. He just had no understanding of the timeline, right? Gurman's own sentiment was that means, for instance, if users have alpha Alphabet Inc.'s Google Gemini or Anthropic's Claude installed, they'd be able to send queries to those services from within the Siri voice assistant, right? And what's funny is that Gruber is calling him out here, saying maybe Apple ran out of time today and will announce this tomorrow. Maybe they forgot to announce it. Maybe they scrapped the next generation Siri that existed 2 months ago, and in the last month rebuilt another entirely new next generation Siri. I'll bet something like that is what happened. I mean, people had knowledge of the matter. Which is funny because what Gurman describes here is exactly what Apple says they offered to the European Union. And Gruber is shitting on him. And then Mark Gurman even posted like some clarifications and said to Gruber, sucks to suck. That basically Gruber is totally the one in the wrong here. And it's just so funny to see some people that are not universally always correct, let's just put it that way, to see them argue. Yeah, that was just funny to me. But I teased you guys long enough. I do want to start with this. I'm not even sure how fast we should do it. I think 1.2x speed should be enough. Like, Zollotech is not too slow of a speaker, but not too fast either. KSP, now it makes sense why they started offering educational savings on Apple Watch. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, you mean to get people to buy the new ones? Because they cut off so many now? But that would actually be a decent correlation, though I think that at this point Apple is probably just looking to acquire new customers for the Apple Watch in general. So let me make sure that the stream is working fine. You guys know the drill. Leave likes, comments, and as always, inform me if there's anything wrong with the stream. Without further ado, let's get started with everything new in macOS 27 Golden Gate.
Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and Apple released macOS 27 Beta 1 that they're calling Golden Gate. macOS 27 Beta 1 is available to developers and will release to public beta testers in July, but currently it's available to all developers worldwide, no matter where you are.
And you don't even have to be a developer for it. You can sign up these days for developer betas just in the Settings app. Don't have to be a member of it.
Apple dropped support for Intel Macs this year, so there's no longer any Intel Macs that are supported, but it does support the latest MacBook Neo, any MacBook Air with Apple Silicon from 2020 and later, MacBook Pro with Apple Silicon 2020 and later, iMac with Apple Silicon 2021 and later, Mac Mini with
we did not get an iMac in 2020. That's the cutoff here.
Apple Silicon 2020 and later, Mac Studio, and Mac Pro with Apple Silicon from 2023.
Yeah, that's because it took us 3 years to go from the MacBooks to the Mac Pro, and obviously the first generation Mac Studio to a Mac Pro with Apple Silicon, and obviously the Mac Studio as a product category only came to be after Apple Silicon became a thing. Yeah, so these cutoffs are completely architecturally. They have nothing to do with the amounts of RAM, because obviously Intel Macs have had 8 gigs of RAM for a while. They have nothing to do even often with raw power. Obviously, we have iMac Pros and Mac Pros from the late 2010s that have enough power, at least on the level of a MacBook Neo. So this is everything Apple Silicon Mac, every Apple Silicon Mac, and in every version. So there's no cutoff, thankfully, for like 8 gig systems, which would suck for the MacBook Neo, admittedly. There is also a cutoff here for the new Siri AI. With the larger models for stuff like better dictation. This stuff happens on systems with 12 gigs of RAM and with the M3 chip or newer, right? So the MacBook Neo, even as a relatively new device, doesn't get it. But if you have a Mac, M4 only started with 16 gigabytes, so at least there you're fine. But let's say you even have an M3 MacBook, but that one has only 8 gigs of RAM. That one does not get all the features.
Now, this came in at 17.05 gigabytes. This is on an M5 MacBook Air, and this particular update was released alongside many other updates with iOS 27, iPadOS 27, watchOS 27, tvOS 27, and visionOS 27. Now, before we talk about new features, let's take a look at the build number. We'll go to the Apple, then about this Mac, and then if you click on macOS 27, you'll see here the build number is 26A5353Q.
No.
So we have a ways to go until it releases to the public, but there are some new features that make this a lot better experience compared to macOS Tahoe.
So my general statement right now is that macOS 27 Developer Beta 1 is a bit more stable than macOS 26.6 Beta 1. Now, it should be noted that 26.6 Beta 1 turned out to be a bit of a bitchy release, relatively. It is less stable than 26.5. So I cannot assure you that 27 Developer Beta is better than the actual stable release. But very quickly, Apple very carelessly launched 26.6 B1, and I've had more issues on it across my devices than I even had with betas on 26.3 or 26.4 or 26.5. So because it launched like 2 weeks before WWDC or 1.5, whatever, and to me that just speaks that Apple was all hands on deck already for the transition to the 27 releases. But they still obviously feel the need to release 26.6 eventually. So hopefully next week they'll finally give us 26.6 Beta 2, and hopefully that is far better than 26.6 Beta 1.
Oh, the first thing is overall refinements. Apple is focusing on quality and refinement this year across all of the OSs. So all of the 27 OSs with faster performance here, faster network file browser.
Oh, true, KSB. So wait, that explains. So KSB, that means you stop being a MarkTech Pro member, because I didn't know we had 2 MarkTech Pro members, you and Denise, who actually hasn't showed up again in live streams, but I know that the MarkTech Pro Max members never show up in live streams except for Angelica. Yeah, so now you are using the new tier, which I promised you guys to make one. Thank you for finding it, actually, and I should remind you, there is a cheaper tier now under MarkTech Pro and MarkTech Pro Max. There is now the very cleverly named MarkTech Neo tier, which I'm not sure if that comes with call-outs, but I'll call you guys out in the chat anyway, so you won't feel neglected. But thank you very much. Let's continue.
Browsing, faster AirDrop, faster loading of content in Safari, and it's much more responsive already than macOS Tahoe. When it comes to design, Apple has updated Liquid Glass.
Yeah, Apple has not given as concrete of statements about speed improvements on macOS, like something like the 30% faster load times for apps. That, for example, refers to something like the iPhone 11, which runs on architectures older than any Apple Silicon Mac, which started with like an equivalent of an A14 CPU. Obviously, the iPhone 11 runs on the A13. So yeah, the Mac should not get as huge of a boost from any kind of like new CPU scheduler. My speculation is much more to do with that it comes much more from the removal of bloat. Yeah. Wait, KSB, was that your idea to call it Neo? Damn, then it obviously makes sense for you to be a MarkTech Neo member. I'm not even going to argue that. I just thought it was clever. So, hey, but that now means I didn't praise myself. Now I praised a member of my community. So now I can praise myself for being so praising towards you guys.
You may have already noticed down here at the bottom, the dock looks more glass-like, but we can adjust this if we don't like it. For example,
and I love it, so I actually set my liquid glass to the max.
If we go into our system settings and then we go under appearance, we now have a system slider for liquid glass. So it's in the middle now. If I want it more glass-like, I can do that. Or if I want to get rid of glass entirely,
So this is wrong. This does not actually remove the glass aesthetic. What it does instead is it turns it into frosted glass. But it keeps the general, a lot of like the refractions and refractions that are typical of glass. And it even preserves a little bit of the three-dimensionality of glass. Dimensionality. Jesus, why can I not speak today? Uh, this this actually, guys, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of months ago, I think we had a discussion here, and I made actually a pretty long post about this on Discord or on Twitter, I guess. And I told you that I don't think there is a realistic way to make a liquid glass slider. And I honestly thought, wait, what did Apple do exactly here? This is basically a transparency slider. I think it slightly adjusts some other settings, but this is mostly a transparency slider. It still keeps the overall glass aesthetic. It just turns it into frosted glass, which I fully I've seen some people say, well, now it looks like plastic. Well, yeah, that's what happens with glass if it's not fully see-through. But it keeps a lot of the material properties of glass. This is why actually going 100% here is not going to give you really more glass than the default either. It's just going to make that glass even more transparent. And that can actually result in some readability issue. Now on my iPad, I've actually been fine with it. I've set it, I believe, to maximum. On my Mac, I've mostly been rocking it at about 75%, or 50% from here to there. Let me know how you like. I know some people in the community have not liked liquid glass. I know some others have loved it. I know that I'm one of the few people who generally was appreciative of Alan Dye. I understood his shortcomings, but I was also very much appreciative of his strengths, and I understand why he was able to rise through the ranks at Apple. That being said, I am happy that Apple is offering refinements without actually fully scaling them back. I was actually afraid that this setting would basically give you iOS 7 to iOS 10 to iOS 18 era design. It does not. It's liquid glass, but it's liquid frosted glass.
Can do that as well. So we can change this around for whatever works best for us, and just maybe I'll bring it to the middle here and leave it where it is. But this gives you an idea of what it looks like as you adjust the slider. So again, all the way to glass, and it doesn't look like it has a dramatic effect, but remember...
Yeah, and this would also be noted, this does not become 100% intransparent, right? And this is not 1,000% transparent. Both of those are still... similar to how battery settings are, right? Between like 20 and 80%, how it's recommended to move your device. I feel like Apple has deliberately cut off a little bit of room here, left and right, to still say, look, you are getting liquid glass, but you're customizing it. You're not switching to a completely new design paradigm of completely transparent elements, because that would make sense either, nor are you switching back to iOS 18. So I actually think, while I'm still not the biggest fan of the idea of a liquid glass slider, I do admit that Apple handled it about as well as they probably could have.
This is a first beta, so there's going to be a few things that don't work properly. We also have some updated icons, so some of them here within system settings, so you can see all of this here. So on the side, some updated icons there, more contrast with things like Mail, and they just look like they pop a little bit more. If we go into an app like Music, for example, they've changed everything. So everything is to the side here now. So we've got our library and Apple Music. We've got menus at the top, and all of the menus are on the left-hand side. So the same is true if we go into the App Store. Again, there's consistency throughout. They've updated this, and it just looks a little bit more refined throughout.
Yeah, and meanwhile, they even actually increased the liquid glass look on something like the search field here. I like this. First of all, I like the calm that it gives me, because whenever I go to anything John Gruber adjacent in terms of community behavior, they really wanted these sidebars completely back. I never disliked the previous ones, but I will admit they didn't make really physical sense, right? Because it was like a window within a window, but then the window on top was the transparent one, but it was showing you design elements not from this window, but from things behind it. So just from from a physical hierarchy, like remember the iOS 7 video, right? With the beautiful Johnny Ive voiceover saying that a big part of the transparency and translucency elements in iOS 7 were about hierarchy, right? So the keyboard slides up and it sits above your content. This is why the semi-transparent keyboard shows you what's underneath, right? The same thing goes with Control Center. In contrast, something like Notification Center, when that comes down, that one is its own page. So it doesn't show you like through a semi-transparent layer, it doesn't show you the home screen underneath. And I feel like that those previous sidebars did a poor job in replicating a sensible sense of hierarchy, if that makes sense. Plasma Void, reduce transparency settings plus dark mode, gang? Yeah. Wait, no, reduce transparency. No, Jesus. I thought for a second you said increase transparency, so you max out the slider. But definitely a dark mode person in general. But I kind of dig Liquid Glass, just needs refinements. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're on the betas. This is definitely the refinement. And a lot of people forget that. I like that Apple called that out. They said, like, look, we changed designs before and it took us some time to refine those, right? And that's exactly what's happening with Liquid Glass. It's exactly what happened with iOS 7. I would argue that the real iOS 7 kind of came with iOS 10. So in that regard, I would argue that Liquid Glass has a faster maturation rate than iOS 7. That makes sense though, because Liquid Glass is a smaller visual overhaul than than iOS 7 was, which is funny because we never also got an official name for the iOS 7 design language, right? I mean, it's a flat look, right? It's not skeuomorphic anymore. Has Apple ever referred to the design language of iOS 7 and other flat systems in an official way like they do with Liquid Glass? Did I forget that? Let me know. KSP, my personal opinion is Liquid Glass causes more eye strain on OLED displays. I find it more comfortable on my backlit display on my iPad. Interesting. I just do not have eye strain from it. But obviously, if it causes that for you, then you should adjust accordingly, right? Maybe tune it down on OLED displays, keep it higher on devices with LCD panels. Tech for your needs saying, hello there, dark mode for the win. Absolutely. Now, I do often use light mode when I'm live streaming, but that's mostly because I'm usually just coming in from work. That's what my laptop is set to because it's a bright environment. It really doesn't make sense to use dark mode in there. But overall, yeah, dark mode for the win. Benveni, I'm back. Damn, I really hope your dentist appointment went well.
The OS. Also, if we go into Finder, you'll see Finder looks a little bit different. Things are a little more bold. And then, of course, we have our different menu options or view options here at the top. And again, it's very familiar, but also refined.
Yeah, these elements are more legible. They're thicker. Now, they've been perfectly legible before. They're even more legible. You can see Apple still keeps some very glassy elements. Like here, this looks like a delicious transparent candy, like here in the search field and here, right? But they're bringing back some familiarity while still preserving all the new Liquid Glass stuff. You can see that Liquid Glass, obviously, it cannot translate to everything, right? It's not like we have any Liquid Glass designs in just the regular stuff. And then, yeah, also everything else that's changed in the sidebar, like color text and things like that. I mean, Apple deliberately called that out on stage as things on where they actually went back to something that people liked in the past. Yeah. Yeah, but that has been also fixed now for a while in Tahoe as well. That's also something they called out on stage, yes? That's interesting because I don't think it has done that. Oh, it's because I haven't put Wi-Fi in here, right? But yeah, I have it in control center, right? And I disconnected from Wi-Fi, but it hasn't actually. Oh, by the way, guys, see a bug, right? This is where you should have reflections and refractions being live. But what it does, it seemingly has like instead of just disappearing, right, where it should be reflecting the dark from my cursor. So this is why I'm saying macOS 27 is more stable in many ways than macOS 26.6, but the beta. But that's also a beta on beta comparison. It is less stable than 26.5. So just so you know and be warned.
Like we have Wi-Fi already. If you have it plugged in, you'll get more information. Now we get some app updates as well. If we go into weather, for example, it's been a little bit redesigned. Similar to what we have on iOS 27, you'll see precipitation here.
I caught myself opening my iPhone today looking for weather and hoping to find this because I've seen it online and then I forgot that I don't yet have the beta installed on my iPhone. It's been such a long time since I haven't had the latest beta on my iPhone. It screws with the mind, to be honest.
We can change it back to what we had before. And then we can also see wind conditions. So it's just a little bit more information showing when it thinks it will rain and giving more details as well as highlights here also. We also have an update to Freeform. So if we go into Freeform here, you'll see the icon
it just occurred to me, you weren't able to see what I was... now I'm not sure if the bug is still there. Oh, the bug is gone. No. Because, basically what was happening... no, it still happens, right? Or if I do it very quickly... basically where it's supposed to... Oh, you can see it in edit controls, which should be here actually under my... my own stuff. You can see that where glass elements are supposed to reflect my cursor moving, right? That effect gets stuck. Instead of the dark disappearing right away, it basically sticks to the glass until it disappears in a second or two. So yeah, macOS 27 still has some bugs, just be warned.
If we go in here, we'll click continue. We now have a dark mode. So it says do more with tables. So now within Freeform, we have a dark mode and we can switch that in system settings. So let's go back to appearance and we'll switch over to dark mode. So give it a moment and you'll see Freeform is now in dark mode. Again, they've updated some of the menus here at the top.
I don't use Freeform,
we also have the option to draw. So we didn't have this on the Mac before, but we can draw the words out here. Maybe hello. You can do that with your trackpad or mouse. And of course, you have the same tools that you do on your iPad. So it's just a little bit of an update specifically for Freeform. Another update we have carries across to many different apps throughout the OS. For example, if we go to this one, maybe we'll go to Apple, and if we pull down,
Omer,
it will
I
now
did
refresh.
get the iPadOS 27 beta, not the iOS, so not the one on the iPhone. As I said, I do need my iPhone to be fully operational this weekend. But after that, I might get tempted to install like beta 2. I do have, as you can even see from my own dock, right, where the liquid glass is tuned to the max, and as you could see from my control center, I do have macOS 27 and iPadOS 27 installed.
Yes. One of the biggest updates this year is to Siri. It's now called Siri AI, and you will have to sort of join
the betas on my iPad and Mac have been pretty good.
Accepted, you can then start using it. Now, it's only available in English to start, and it's not available in the EU or China yet.
No. So this is not correct. On the Mac, Siri AI is actually available. That's because the Mac platform, the macOS platform, is not a gatekeeper platform. Apple's PC market share is too small to qualify for that. I believe the other criteria for that is revenue. So apparently Apple's European revenue is also small enough for macOS. So Macs are not gatekeepers, unlike iOS, iPadOS, unlike even things like WhatsApp, Android. So it's not just operating system, but it's just big things. And macOS does not qualify for that. So I have actually, I've asked to be added to the new Siri, but I have not yet gotten access to it.
Now it's been rebuilt from the ground up. It's much smarter, and also it looks a little bit different. We have our Siri icon in the upper right here. If I click it, you'll see what it looks like here. And what Mac am I using currently?
What? Oh, he was asking Siri that. I thought it was going to be a content about the dynamic island or something. Will there be WWDC 27? Yes. I've seen some people speculate on this if WW26, because it was more scaled down versus prior events, that it means the end of WWDC. That's not how things work. Just because the main keynote was a bit shorter this year does not mean WWDC is dead. WWDC is so much more than just the first keynote. It's 3 days of Apple interacting with developers. It's Apple posting content for developers all over the world. It's a chance for developers to interact live, have a small vacation. It's an opportunity for Apple to invest in a new generation of developers that work independently or even at some point might get hired by Apple. So yeah, don't fret for WWDC. WWDC is going to be just fine. Yeah, so this is a buggy thing. Like I've seen so much stuff, and Benveni, I believe you posted some stuff about this on Discord and some others as well now, that the new Siri is way too smart. I think honestly it probably just didn't recognize what he said.
Keep that in mind, and if we click on it, let's try this. What Mac am I using right now?
To be honest, even the previous Siri that was supposedly aware of system settings and stuff like that should be able to answer that.
It says looking into it, and this is what the new Siri looks like. And it says you can find your Mac model by clicking the Apple menu in the top left corner. So it's telling us how. It's referencing support.apple.com, but for many different things, it just knows the answer, similar to what you would get with other intelligent assistants. You can use natural language, so maybe...
Yeah, the main Siri is coming with iOS 27 in September. It always happens in September because that's when new iPhones launch, right? So it has to be available. These iPhones do not get the previous OS release anyway. So it has, even if it's still slightly unfinished by that point, iOS 27 will launch in September. What has happened in the past is that macOS sometimes has launched a little bit after iOS, iPadOS, and watchOS, right? But in the last few years, all of those operating systems have released at the same time.
You hit Command Space, it opens up.
And Siri will also launch in September, Siri AI. It just will launch as a beta. And I assume that it's going to stay as a beta for about a year or so.
Just like we had before.
And this isn't something even new. Don't forget, the original Siri also launched in beta in 2011.
We now can access this directly in Spotlight. So we could say, when did the MacBook Air M5 release?
When did the MacBook Air release?
And you've got options for show results, or let's just ask Siri, and let's see what it says. So it says looking into it, and it says it was introduced in 2020. Now,
that was actually quite fast.
And this is incorrect.
So it surfacing this from Apple support. So I almost wonder why it's not trying to do more sources than that. I guess it was confident and fast and wrong. And this is what happens with a lot of these AIs. Wait, which model did he ask? DM5. So that the correct answer would be 2026.
And you've got options. And it's supposed to be much smarter, but again, it's not all the way there just yet.
Yeah, it's 3 months yet. So I'm not even sure if it always connects to the right part of private cloud compute for now.
Another thing you can do, for example,
which again, I really hope that Apple connects me with, hits me up with the new beta so I can actually do this stuff as well. I mean, for a second, I can actually make myself big so you don't see my settings app with my real name. But I should have gotten a notification for it if that, yeah, I still have the old Siri icon and it says joined waitlist. I can actually show you this because now I've scrolled away from my real name. So OBS, gonna make myself a little bit smaller now just to show you, right? I'm on the new Siri waitlist. I'll be notified when I get this. I've set my device to United States English. I've set my Siri to United States English. I know there is a bypass for it. Again, I'll try it if for some reason I just don't get confirmed at all. But I also wanted to show you guys this as proof that it's in fact not entirely unavailable in the European Union. So it is available for the Mac because the Mac is not classified as a gatekeeper platform under the European Digital Markets Act. And I know some of you have asked about turning Siri off for resources. That option is still fully there inside macOS 27. So if you want to save some system resources, just to make sure that you have as much performance, as much battery life, you can still enable parts of Siri and Apple Intelligence and things like that. Now we can actually get back to the video, which I'm not sure where I've put it. Oh, it's full screen.
Finder, maybe we'll click on this screenshot and we'll open up Siri and say, what is this? And it will let us know what's within it. It's a PNG image file named screenshot. It is currently selected in the Finder window on your desktop. So it won't tell you exactly what's in it, but it tells you what kind of file it is.
Yeah, it tries to do some stuff really fast, which is interesting because like I think it wants stuff to be open to analyze it. Even though, of course, it should have that file access. So I almost wonder if over time, stuff like this should be something that you should be able to customize with your own preferences. Thomas Cruz, good macOS Golden Gate 27. Yeah, it's actually pretty great. Guys, we have some people here there that I don't think have yet liked the video. If you're actually enjoying this and you want to help out the channel, please like the video. It really helps a lot. I know subscriptions, channel memberships, these are a little bit deeper commitments, even hitting the notification bell. But just hitting the like button, it really helps the stream out a lot. It helps us attract new people to the stream, which is very crucial because new audience members makes this more lively, gives us more opinions and just more input to work with. So that would go a long way. And let me know in the comments in the live chat what you think about all of this, right? What your questions are. You see, I'm pretty engaged. I love a lively live stream.
It's still in beta. Keep that in mind. Visual intelligence will also understand what's on screen, just like I showed you, so you could see specific options and select those. Now, like I mentioned, Spotlight Search has been redone again. So if we go into Spotlight Search, we can then sort of hover over and get our information, but it's not as straightforward as we had before. So I've got this little apps icon here. I really wish they wouldn't have gotten rid of the Launchpad. So you can go through your apps like normal and you'll see they're still loading like that. But again, it's one of those things.
I do think that Launchpad has some advantages over this. But quite honestly, because so many Mac users just put so much stuff in the dock, and I mean, I'm no exception here, right? I actually deleted I've put two things into Control Center because Control Center now has more spaces. So what I did, I put the Quit All shortcut and the Screenshot Toolbar shortcuts into my Control Center. So they are not anymore in my dock. I don't, meaning my dock can now have either a little bit larger icons or I can replace those two icons with something else, right?
Where I wish they would.
So, yeah, I understand why Apple removed the Launchpad. It's a cool visual thing. I understand missing it just from that perspective. But given how fast Spotlight Search is, given how most of the stuff you're going to do day to day probably is already in your dock, I do understand why this happened.
Just bring back the option we had before. So click on that and we're back to search or ask. You, of course, could just type an app here and it would understand that right away.
Yeah,
Also, to go along
but
with
that's
Siri,
not a
one other
Siri
thing we have
feature.
is a dedicated Siri app now. So if we scroll down, you'll see here that we have a new app with a new icon. If we go into it, you'll see different queries that I've asked before. So this is something that's not correct, but I was asking it questions about something that was on a truck in front of me earlier today. So I was using an Apple CarPlay and it saves those specific conversations.
Oh,
I
interesting.
asked it about rain and it let me know. So it keeps all of these conversations. And of course, you can change how often they delete, or you can never delete them if you'd like, but this just keeps a record of it. If we go back out, we have some new options within Photos. Now within Photos, this is a photo I took of the iPhone 17e for a thumbnail. If we go to Edit, then we go to Tools, we have two additional
Yeah.
options now. We have Extend and Reframe.
In fact, and these things you do not have to sign up. So you sign up for the new Siri, but you get more Apple Intelligence stuff, including in the European Union. So I have Extend and Reframe and a better version of Cleanup on my Mac already, right? So yeah. KSP saying I'm stepping away from chatting, but I'm still listening. Uh, good fun to you. Whatever you're doing otherwise.
Reframe is one of the more impressive ones, where it says setting up intelligent features. We'll give it just a moment here. And once this is set up, it should let us change the perspective of the photo. So let's see how far it lets us do that. So there we
I
go.
believe
We can drag it to
25
adjust
degrees.
and maybe change the perspective.
So
Now, it
it's
doesn't look
not
completely
extremely.
right, but let's see what it gets if maybe we set it this way as far as we can and
Yeah,
click reframe.
and my speculation is that it is going to get this correct. It's going to get the shape of the box correct. But what it's probably going to have some issue with the text where it says iPhone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is something that I called out as very positive in my last video before I had access to it. This is exactly what I specifically enjoy here, which is the aspect ratio ability. This is specifically for stuff like quickly having something that's Instagram ready. Hopefully you also show that it's actual AI, right? And don't try to trick people. Or more likely something that you want to use as a wallpaper. So if you need something that's now a perfect 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio to make it iPhone ready, that's something that I think would be is cool to have. Yeah, and I think it's well done. Like the interface for everything is intuitive. The features all make sense. Again, I'm not saying Apple is here unique or this is the best in the business, but I've said it about Cleanup multiple times in the past. I never thought that Cleanup needed this drastic overhaul where it can redraw entire faces. What I needed it to be just a bit better for stuff like removing objects and people in the background. I don't need to hold up my hand in front of my face and then I clean up the hand and then it still shows you my regular face. That's stupid. That's not cleanup. That's generating something entirely different at that point, right? But if I'm taking a photo on the beach, whatever, with my family or something like that, and there were too many people in the background and I just want to, or maybe somebody is like, I don't know, doing something obscene in the background, I would like to be able to circle that and delete it with very minor to no visual glitches. I think Cleanup was already pretty good. Now it's even better. So in this way, I really can commit to the idea that as long as these features are good enough, that's good enough, right? If you understand my meaning.
Again, we'll do this, extend. Now, technically, this is a Mac Studio display, so we'll see if it actually gets that. So it sort of gets it. It looks more.
It generated an old iMac with a chin, but without the Apple logo. I actually like that. Before I go, is it worth investing in an OLED monitor for my PC? You currently use a 27-inch 1440p 140 Hz IPS monitor. Man, you're also saying you're worried about hurting the OLED. Well, I mean, that's a different discussion. I'm not going to comment on that because obviously that's for you to know, right? How safely you can package it. The main point with OLED is consider that most OLEDs as PC monitors are pretty dim. Even the latest like tandem WOLED or tandem what is it QLED monitors, they still don't give you much more than like 400 nits of full screen brightness, and that's not even always full white. So it's a little bit a problem. Now you do have a monitor that seems to be very decent for gaming, like 144 hertz, 1440p is a good resolution if you're only gaming. Now my recommendation is get the OLED or just a better monitor. If you also like, you can get a mini LED panel, for example. There's the new LG mini LED that basically has most of the features, maybe 90% of them, from the Studio Display XDR, right? So it has 2000 dimming zones and stuff like that. At 2300, I believe. So it's pretty good. It gives you high brightness because it's mini LED. You don't have to worry about burn-in really there. Now, it does not have the OLED pixel response time or something like that. But the main point that I'm getting at is if you are getting a new monitor, believe me, you will thank me if you get something higher resolution than 1440p. It always irks me that the PC industry still so heavily pushes 1440p, even on very premium panels relatively. Like some of the highest brightness you get on like 1440p panels. And I'm like, 1440p, iMacs have had that since what, 2010, 2011? My 2012 iMac definitely had it. And it's the same pixel density, right? Because it's a 27-inch monitor with 1440p. That's 110 pixels per inch. That's disgustingly low. So get yourself at least 4K. Hell, if you can get it, get yourself 5K. And you'll be so happy. Your eyes will just feel the lack of strain. I always feel that whenever I switch from my work PC monitor, which is 1080p on like what, 24 inches, and I switch to then my like 3K panel on my MacBook Pro on the smaller display, so it effectively has what, 3x the pixel density, so way higher resolution and everything. So yeah, just for something for you to keep in mind. Now, I don't want to push you into overspending, but believe me, you will feel the increase in resolution in everything but gaming. Yeah, so we are gonna get to that video right after this one. Yep. Yeah, I think mine is set to automatic. Yeah, it's the same as before. Yeah, but what I am missing is actually the Golden Gate stuff, which they seemingly teased in the in the actual keynote. Like one thing that they showed for the Golden Gate tease very much looked like a screensaver or wallpaper. So I was a little bit confused when I didn't see it happening. Yeah, 4K will soon be on. No. I actually disagree here. You're saying that 1440p is a better fit. I assumed what you mean basically for the 5070 Ti. You have DLSS 4.5. There is you are probably already not gonna run most games above 1080p for the most part. And if you're running a less demanding game at 1440p on a 4K monitor, like just judging from my own experience, even with the base PS5 and now with the PS5 Pro, which is obviously closer to your 5070 Ti, but not anywhere near that still, right? Which obviously makes sense. The 5070 Ti by itself is more, or at least was more expensive than the PS5 Pro was as a whole system. But no, I don't think you're gonna hurt it. Because of DLSS, I actually disagree. Like you asked me about First Light, like this 1080p game on my 4K TV, and I sit very close to my 4K, even with a less great, or let's just call it what it is, an inferior upscaler like PSSR 2 versus DLSS 4.5, you'll be getting great experience with 1080p upscale to 4K. Don't forget, 1080p to 4K upscaling is actually better than 1080p to 1440p, because what it does is just essentially it's able to double the pixel, right? In both width and height, which results in 1 pixel becoming 4. Then it does essentially anti-aliasing, and DLSS also reconstruct details. And at that point, DLSS performance instead of quality mode will do the trick just fine, believe me. And I'm not saying that. I know some people will say, well, how do you know? The amount of stuff that I consume about it, from Hardware Unboxed, Gamers Nexus, Digital Foundry, multiple PC gaming websites, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not a Mac, Apple, iOS one-trick pony. I would have, believe me, I would own a gaming PC if I didn't have Windows, if I didn't hate Windows as much as I do.
And after that. Also, let's go over and change the appearance back to light mode, and you'll see the wallpaper change in the background. Now, we also get an update for an AirPods menu. So let me go ahead and open my AirPods here and see if we can get the menu on the Mac.
I can already chill you down, real Hamza. I have read the Quran. I've read the Quran, I've read the Torah, I've read the Bible. I had a really obnoxious Redditor, kind of Redditor face, even though I never joined Reddit. I know all the major monotheistic religions. I even could tell you a ton of anecdotes about the Prophet Muhammad. Obviously, I can quote a ton of biblical stories to you. But yeah, when I was around 22, I read all the major monotheistic works of religion. Not fully, obviously. I skimmed some stuff that just wasn't important. But no, also, please don't proselytize on my channel. I'm fine doing it once, almost like more as a joke, but please don't keep it up.
So within the AirPods menu, again, give it a moment. We've got AirPods Pro 3. The menu is completely changed. So you'll see it says beta software available. Turn on pre-release beta updates to test new beta software. So it's great that it's telling us that. And it's a little more organized now with audio and routing, hearing health, controls and gestures, battery, and Find My. So you'll see all of that here, where I've actually updated to the beta on the case, but it hasn't updated the actual AirPods themselves yet.
Oh,
so I do have this
I didn't know that was
I'll
even possible
as well. So hopefully they'll update soon.
Oh,
now, in addition to this,
okay,
of course, we have updates to a few other apps. One of those has to do with podcasts. So again, if we go down to podcasts, we'll keep scrolling. We'll go into podcasts. And if we're playing a video podcast, there's an update here. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. Again, this is a beta, so keep in mind there's some bugs here. Correct. Let's close it. We'll go back in. And there we go. If we go into this primary technology podcast, let me make sure my volume is down. So we'll turn that down. We'll click play here, and you'll see it's video. If I turn off video, you can seamlessly switch between video and audio. So that's an update just like they have on iOS already. We also have an update to iPhone mirroring. So let's see if this works. It wasn't working well for everyone. But
it's still not available in the European Union, which I wonder what the restriction on this is even based on. Is it about the fact that you cannot do iPhone mirroring with like an Android device? Because it is a Mac feature in a way. Like, I wonder what gatekeeper argument is even coming into place here. It's so stupid. Like here, like look, you guys know, and I've said it during prior streams, I'm very proud to be a citizen of Germany. I come from a country that's way worse, or was way worse. I come from a country that's still partially occupied by Russia, right? I really appreciate the freedoms here, but partially with those freedoms also comes my ability to criticize things like the European Union. And look, I can even be super forgiving of stuff like this, right? This European Union water bottle cap law about it being connected, right? So you don't throw it away, which I still don't understand because you usually break it or whatever. I open it often with my teeth, so it's not like it can even be reused. But I'm fine with the European Union doing more regulatory stuff because I do believe that big companies need to be regulated. But so many of the tech-specific laws, I'm like, bro, who the F is writing them? Somebody who has no understanding of technology, seemingly, or the realistic things you can expect of the tech market, right? And I even find it funnier that so many of these tech laws hit Apple, but then are completely fine with like Samsung being scummy in so many ways, because of course the conflict right now is a lot with American big tech. But oh god, this is so stupid. I really hope that when a new US president comes into power, he can actually negotiate some reasonable stuff with the European Union and tell them to chill, but actually get something in return. Because I do believe that US tech conglomerates should be forced to, for example, pay more taxes here and things like that. And obviously people like Trump try to protect companies from taxes at all costs. So it's a different discussion. I don't want to get too political, but yeah, European Union, iPhone mirroring, that's how my brain works. KSP, I replaced Steam for the Xbox apps in Xbox mode. Now my controller PC boots directly into Steam Big Picture. Also, my Steam controller helps me use YouTube. Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. If you have the Steam controller... Wait, Steam controller? Is it... What is it called? Steam Deck? Yeah, no. Then it's called, yeah. If you have the Steam controller, then it obviously does make sense for you to do what you're doing. Steam Big Picture, especially with the Steam controller. Yeah, it's a shame what's happening with the Steam machine. That's really so silly in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, I think Valve should really just focus on better software experiences. Like the shit they're trying to pull, launching a machine with 8 gigs of VRAM in 2026, and God knows at what cost. The Steam Deck is now $900 with 1 terabyte of storage. Like, I don't know. I like a lot of what Valve is doing. I use Steam myself for some extra gaming stuff, but man, like their hardware efforts, like Steam Deck was like the one successful thing they did, and then immediately right after, it feels like they fully lost control of it right after. Plasma Void, have fun catching up at 2x. It's gonna sound really crazy though, because I am speaking, Zolo is speaking, the chat is coming in.
Icon here, so we'll go into that icon, we'll continue, and we'll unlock the phone here. We'll click allow, and we'll get started. Now it's connected to the 17 Pro Max. We'll give it just a moment to connect. We'll try again. No, I've tried this on both my 17 Pro Max and iPhone Air, but it's not working for me. And I've heard it's a little bit buggy for some others as well.
Yeah,
I should be able to resize this to larger sizes. So for example,
yeah,
you can make it widescreen, and this hints at maybe future product updates where we would have a screen that we would want to resize it for. Now also we have an update when it comes to Find My. Find My gets a little bit of a revision. Basically, the change here is, again, we have the menu on the left and we have all of the different device options on the bottom. So this is more consistent with iPhone. Apple also updated their display support. So the great news is if maybe you have a 5K ultra wide, maybe like the LG one I used to have years ago, it now supports up to 120 Hertz and should work properly.
Yeah, this should have been there. This is where I actually agree with Apple doing a refinement year, because sometimes features like that just fall to the wayside. But in my opinion, we should need a refinement year for these kinds of features, because in my opinion, these features should have always been there, right? So this is where very much take some umbrage with Apple. Like, you have enough display bandwidth certainly on Thunderbolt 5, but even on Thunderbolt 4, let's be honest, especially with display stream compression, especially on newer chips on newer devices that support newer versions of display stream compression and what display port as a standard, right? Because I always forget the display port is not just a literal physical display port, but it's also the software firmware stack behind it.
We also get an update in Maps. If we go into Maps, within Maps, buildings are more detailed, and if you're using Flyover, it's much more crisp this time around.
Yep.
So again, you'll see what it looks like.
It's basically using Gaussian splatting, similar to what Apple Vision Pro uses for your environment, similar to what even like that reframe feature uses in the Photos app. So you can see, and this is why I hate people who really shit on Apple doing new stuff. When people say like, oh, why does Apple do the Vision Pro? Vision Pro is a flop. Do you see how much great stuff we've gotten from Vision Pro? Even in theory, right? Look, right now, I know that 3D content, for example, is only in Apple Vision Pro, right? But the fact that Apple even partnered with movie studios to even take 3D content at all serious for streaming and stuff like that right now is because of Apple Vision Pro. Guess who did not do that? Like Meta with their Quest and whatever, right? Stuff like all that... stuff that I think will just work nicely in general in the future. For example, the Gaussian rendering in a way for the faces, for FaceTime calls inside Vision Pro, right? I think that is just good for rendering paradigms in general. And then these kinds of rendering features, then combine that with a little bit of AI upscaling, then you get to stuff like better quality in Flyover, in Maps. And that can apply to so much more stuff. This is why it's not like I want Apple to spread themselves too thin, because I do understand if Apple does that, then they will get confused and then we'll actually end up with worse products. But I think Apple doing like every 3 to 5 years, doing something much newer. Sometimes these things will be much more condensed, like the iPad, the AirPods, and Apple Watch. They came out all relatively close to each other by modern standards, right? Then the gap to Apple Vision Pro was larger, and now we are waiting for Apple glasses. I am so happy that now again I've said my opinion about glasses without a display. I think that's stupid. I think Apple should directly go as fast as possible to glasses with a display. For my intents and purposes, you can delete the idea of glasses without a display. I don't think that's a product that Apple should care about. But I'm very happy that Apple is working on glasses in general. And guess what? You're much more likely to get now a polished experience on glasses, because Apple now will have had so many years of refining Vision OS for them, right? Maybe you'll get a more streamlined, more resource constrained version of Vision OS on those glasses, but you will get all these benefits. So this is why I said, similar to my thought experiment about like Steve Jobs and what he would think of AI, it's why I always said I was never against Apple using AI. I was always saying what I don't want Apple to do is don't try to compete one-to-one against ChatGPT, against Claude, whatever, right? Thankfully, Apple is kind of, because Tim Cook gets paid way more than I do for tips, Apple now gets to compete with those without actually putting in the effort of competing with those, right? Because obviously for all the more chatbot stuff, that's very much more Gemini than Apple Foundation models, right? Everything that's on device, I think that's much more Apple than Gemini. And I think everything that's on private cloud compute, that's probably a very, and I mean private cloud compute as in Apple's own servers. I think that's a mix of Gemini and Siri. And then I think when we are looking at very generic chatbot requests, then we are looking at Google and NVIDIA servers, and And then I think we're looking at something that's 95% Gemini, 5% Apple Foundation model or something like that, right? And I think Apple found a good balance. Because now they won't be wasting resources and building up their own servers just to make chatbots. They will make their own servers to give us more AI features on device, or stuff that works with the device and with AI models that also run on device. So there is this great cooperation between hardware, software, and services that feels very Apple-like, doesn't feel very Google-like, even with the Google technological underpinnings. So this is why I want Apple to do more, but I like it when it's really focused and when it's good in good hands. And unironically, Mike Rockwell, the Apple Vision Pro guy who now oversees Siri, seemingly he's a really great product output guy, right? Maybe Apple Vision Pro doesn't become the greatest hit. Maybe Siri AI does not become like the next Claude, right? Like the Mythos 5 that they just launched, the Fable version. But he seems to be really good at putting out something that feels very Apple-like and integrates very well into the Apple ecosystem. So I'm actually really looking at the future of the guy. Now, he seems to be at an age where I don't think he will ever replace John Turnus as the next CEO, but I think he could be a good shoe-in for some kind of senior vice president position.
Moving around here, and of course we can go to different options with traffic and more, but again, it looks a little bit better this time around. Accessibility also gets some updates similar to what we have on iPhone.
And
for example, if we go under Appearance and scroll to the bottom,
also
we have a new option for more in accessibility settings. If we go into this, we now have the options to reduce transparency, just like we do on iPhone. So you'll see how things change, such as the menu bar at the top and the dock at the bottom, and you can fully customize this however you'd like. Now we get many of the same features that we do on iOS, things such as voiceover changes. So if we go back into accessibility, within accessibility, we go to voiceover. Voiceover will now understand more information, and
it's basically integrated with Siri AI.
Also, one thing that they added is captions throughout the OS. So if we scroll down here, go down to subtitles and captioning. Within subtitles and captioning, you can see it says apply across apps. If we turn this on, we can go even into photos and play back one of our videos, and it will have captions. So you'll see here's a recent short I made. And if we go to captions, we have on, we can select the language and style. If I go ahead and play this here, let's go ahead and play it in real time. It should show us some captions. So let's see what happens if it works currently or if it's going to take a little bit. So
I hope there's like a short, Oh, nice. It's just right here. I don't need to enable some kind of special accessibility mode for that to work, because I would love for that to just always work whenever I want to.
Back on. Let's see what it does. Now, it worked on iOS, but keep in mind this is an early beta, and it may take a moment for everything to work and process.
It could also just be completely broken in the first beta. That's just how first betas definitely work.
In the background. But it should work once it's released to the public. Now, as far as bugs and bug fixes, well, Apple is...
It definitely seems like he has a somewhat underwhelming experience with the new AI features. I've seen much more impressive demos and stuff like that of the new Siri and stuff like that. And don't forget, there will be more known issues. It's not just that Apple will fix these known issues. More known issues and more unknown issues will pop up with future betas. The reason why stuff gets classified as a known issue in release notes is basically to tell you, please don't send us 200 messages about an issue we already know. It just confuses us more. It's way nicer for us to, for you to mention new stuff.
For example, you have to wait for beta 2 in order to update them to the beta firmware. We have issues with app intents, new features, resolved issues, known issues, and much more. This list goes on, and there's quite a few new things here.
And don't forget, your experience will also vary versus what was fixed versus what was changed, like depending if you come from 26.5 official release or maybe 26.6 the beta release, which again, as I said before, seems to have had more issues than the previous releases. This is why I also always find it funny when Solo or Aaron, sorry, complains about no release notes for like super small betas in the meantime. I'm like, clearly Apple pays attention to betas, but for them it's mostly about this, the big stuff, right? Like, yeah, if 26.6 beta 3 does not have the greatest release notes, I just, right, it's understandable.
Releases. And speaking of releases, if we go into the calendar here, within Calendar, you can of course use Siri across all apps, but in here, we do expect macOS 27 Beta 2 maybe in a couple weeks, or it could be the third week away. We don't know 100%, but typically we'll get a Beta 2, then maybe a Beta 2.5, and then we'll have a public beta come out sometime in July. So maybe early July or maybe the second week of July.
Yeah.
Apple will typically let us know as we get closer to that,
True.
but that's what we can expect there. Of course, we'll have macOS 26 and macOS 27 betas throughout the summer, with a public release typically in mid-September around the launch of the iPhone 18. Now, when it comes to overall performance has been okay. It's been a little bit laggy here and there, but it's probably...
Yeah, I actually had actual lag, right? Like I was very quickly moving through the dock. You can see that one is perfectly smooth, but it was literally like, you see how my icons pop up from the dock, right? When I move it around like that. And that literally was like, I did the swoosh and my cursor moved, but then the icons were like reacting in a row, like 3 seconds later or something like that, which looked quite funny.
Indexing in the background and sort of getting everything ready there. I haven't used it extensively. I haven't used it as my main production machine, but it seems very fast as far as opening apps. Things open quickly.
Yep.
Menus respond as you would expect. And as far as battery life, honestly, I haven't used it enough to see how it is. But
and I've mostly
for an
used
early beta,
mine
it's
on
not
battery.
draining it all the way down in a couple hours at least. And again, this is a newer Mac, so we're at 100% battery capacity. So if you're wondering
Mine
if
is
you should
not.
install macOS 27 Beta 1, I would say hold off until the public beta at the very least.
That's
However,
generally
if you've got a
my
production machine, probably
my
wait until the
recommendation as
second
well.
update is out after it releases to the public. I typically never recommend a production Mac update to a beta.
Benveni, Mark Gurman will probably miss the hype around 0.4 version. Yeah, Benveni, actually massive kudos to you. You were actually the first one to say you do not believe, and I was actually a believer. At that point, I had more trust in Gurman. So you taught me better. But Gurman said that basically personal context, on-screen awareness, and app intent control for Siri, which are basically the foundations for Siri AI, but obviously Siri AI is more. It's the app, it's the chatbot as well, right? But he said all of that would launch by like April with iOS 26.4. And my speculation was, hopefully it launches with 26.4. I wouldn't be surprised if it launches by 26.5 in May or something like that. But that's the last thing that I expect. Or I think he predicted like March to early April. And I was like late April to early May is where I would stretch it, right? And Benveni, you were actually from the beginning saying, look, I don't think it's launching until the midsummer or at least, and it's very likely that it's actually getting postponed to iOS 27 because Apple does not really tend to launch super major features, software features in the middle of the summer after WWDC essentially, right, as well. So yeah, you were correct on that one. So massive kudos.
So if you have an extra, maybe old one sitting around that's Apple Silicon, then try it out. Otherwise, again, I wouldn't put it on a production machine. So that's everything so far.
Yeah, I mean, mine is... most of my work stuff happens on my work PC, and nobody expects me to really do work on my laptop except on my work from home day, or home office day, whatever it's the latest phrasing is. But Yeah, for office stuff, generally nothing has yet really helped me back on my Mac after installing the beta.
macOS 27. There's some nice updates here, and it's more of a refinement year. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, for this. Is the audio noise only on your end? Wait. Listening to myself on my iPad, I seem to sound pretty clear. Maybe at some point I was like hitting the microphone or something like that, or maybe like I genuinely recommend sometimes refreshing YouTube. We've had the issues last time, so guys, hit the refresh on the on YouTube or close your app on the iPad or something like that, and then start again. So hopefully, if you have some audio issues, generally that's probably gonna help more than anything that I can do on my part, because if my core settings were correct, I don't know, unless my cable came loose, which is really not how USB-C works, I don't really think that it's on my end. So let's go to Zolotech. Let's look at his video. So the Golden Gate video is pretty new. The iOS video is from yesterday. This is everything new with iOS 27. Now with 164,000 views, 2.1 million subscriber channel. Good on Zolo. He definitely deserves it. Great job. And yeah, this is a 42-minute video. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get through all of it, but hopefully we can. And without further ado, let's get into this. I'm just gonna put my volume down again on my iPad.
Aaron here for Zolotech, and Apple released iOS 27 Beta 1. iOS 27 Beta 1 is available around the world at the same time for developers on all iOS 27 supported devices.
Which is all iOS 26 supported devices.
Which is the same support as last year's iOS 26.
No pre-watch, but
from the
iPhone 11
to iPhone 17
I'm like the pre-cogs.
Now, in order to install this, it's the same as any other developer beta. Just go into your settings, make sure you're signed up at developer.apple.com. If you're a public beta tester, that comes a little bit later in July. But you'll go to General, Software Update, wait for it to load, and then in your beta settings here, select iOS 27 Developer Beta, refresh, and you'll have the update.
Yep.
Again, for public beta testers or public release, it comes a little bit later. Now, as you may have already seen, it came in at 14.32 gigabytes. That's on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Apple released this alongside iPadOS 27, macOS 27 Golden Gate, watchOS 27, tvOS and HomePodOS 27, along with visionOS 27.
We're going to talk more about the other releases and some of the controversies in future videos. So definitely by next week, my knowledge will be greater. I'll hopefully be accepted into the Siri AI club, and then we can talk about more about watchOS, tvOS. Not like mistake here. HomePod OS. Actually, I always thought that it's called Audio OS. Did they change that? Because I think I sometimes refer to it as Audio OS. But yeah, basically, in my opinion, what should happen is Apple should not have these as separate releases. They should have Home OS, but it's just a very different build between HomePods and the Apple TV. And then it should also then later run on the HomePad, which is going to be a HomePod with an integrated screen. Obviously, I don't have a problem with the other operating systems.
Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go into our settings. Then this time we can go into our software update, go to more details, and then tap on the version number. And as you can see, the build number is 24A5355Q. This is a very early beta.
Yeah.
And of course,
the last letter moves ever so closely to A or no letter. The closer you get to the release candidate and the official release. So starting with Q basically shows you this is the very first beta of a long beta testing period.
There's some bugs and things, so we don't expect it to be perfect, but just keep that in mind. As far as a modem update, there is a new modem update coming from iOS 26.5, 26.5.
Don't forget, this one is actually a bigger one because Apple specifically, so a few things that they mentioned, for example, they changed the CPU scheduler, especially on older hardware. They changed the indexing algorithm to work also together with like Siri access on to your on-device information. And one thing they also rewrote is the modem behavior. So one thing that they mentioned, for example, if in a moment you lose your Wi-Fi connection, or your Wi-Fi connection is not great, then your modem will be able to take over much faster, and your 5G modem. Or in a case where you're going through the city and you might lose a certain direct connection to a cellular tower, your modem will now be much faster at switching to a new connection. I believe they mentioned up to 5 times faster or something like that. So yeah, definitely, like, this is one of those times where the new modem update is not just a modem update in terms of like compatibility with carriers, adhering to the latest security standards. No, this is actually a modem update that actually changes the behavior of your modem.
As far as new features, there's a lot more here to talk about than was mentioned by Apple with the WWDC keynote. So I'll link all of the different
KSB, did the audio issues resolve for you after reloading the stream?
The great news is this update is more about stability, responsiveness, speed, and reliability improvements. Yes, there's a lot of changes, but this is also updated quite a bit. Everything from smoothness, it's super.
You know what? I think we can actually play this back a bit faster.
Very specifically, if you scroll down here, you'll see how smooth it is. And again, from first day to finish flight home, it's smooth compared to
I apologize, Plasma Void, to you if you're trying to catch up at 2x, because what you would now be watching Zolo at essentially 2.5x, right? 2x, 1.25.
AirDrop and AirPlay are faster. It's also got smoother unlocking, so if we unlock the phone, swipe up, very smooth there. Apps
Sorry
load
to
much
hear
faster,
that about
as
your
do
audio.
Safari.
Wait, let me listen to myself on my iPad. Oh, wait. It happens when you play the video. Oh, wait, now I hear that too. Interesting. Yeah, because I was only listening to my own audio, but I did not catch that the actual. I mean, I can at least refresh that. Did it start only with this latest video?
Hi, everyone. Aaron here for Zolo.
Was it there before on the previous one? But only for some time, so whatever happened, because like it's not like any of my technology could have caused it, really. Maybe it's the new video itself, so maybe refreshing my own YouTube helped. So I apologize for listening to myself. Okay, now it all sounds clear when I listen to myself. So hopefully this was a YouTube app issue on my end. So maybe there's some kind of audio bug in macOS 27, or maybe it's just the YouTube app through Chrome is crappy. Stability, speed, and reliability. So I think we were somewhere here.
Phone, swipe up, very smooth there. Apps load much faster, as
Obviously,
do Safari.
we talked plenty about the performance improvements and the optimizations in macOS and stuff like that, and how they are basically mirrored in iOS. So yeah, in fact, they're probably more impactful on iOS because these devices are much more constrained by their power envelope, by their thermals and things like that. But I would argue that we covered all of that, right?
Start pages, and dictation gets a big update for accuracy. But as far as what you can see, let's start with Liquid Glass. The first thing is Liquid Glass gets an update. Not only is it a little bit better, it's easier to read what's behind it, but we can now adjust it. So if we go back into our settings under our main page here, if we scroll down and go to Appearance, within Appearance, you'll see that we have not only our wallpaper for light and dark mode and automatic, but under Liquid Glass, it's changed a little bit. We can adjust Liquid Glass from very much like glass, all the way to basically eliminating liquid glass. You can see what it looks like by
Again, I
scrolling
told
here.
you, I don't think it actually eliminates the glass because, again, you can have frosted glass, but I do understand the sentiment.
And then switch it over to glass, and it shows you what it looks like. So you still get that refractivity, reflectivity, and everything looks pretty great, but you can adjust it however it
And
works best for
transparency
you.
slash translucency.
Also,
yeah.
there's new icons with more glass. One of them that's easy to see here is the maps icon. So if I bring you in close here, you'll see it has a little bit more depth.
So, and this is actually a good opportunity for me to
Changes throughout. It's
criticize
the maps
Stephen
icon,
LeMay
so
a
if I
little
bring you in
bit.
close-
Now, I did already point to how some of these new icons are just a little bit too sharp for my taste. I like that slightly soft, slightly diffused glass look, but I do think that this idea of having actual glass in the icon is pretty great. I just wish they did it with more stuff that clearly is well suited for it. Like Find My. I think actually having that here would be pretty great. My most major example is Safari, where I think there should be a liquid glass ring around the actual compass circle, right? Which would make so much sense. So yeah, again, not saying that the icons are bad, but like I love, for example, the journal icon and whatever. The news icon, not so much, to be quite honest. I know it's like an N, right? But I'm not sure. Like this would work if the news app was like, I don't know, like a CNN like entity and it needed its own logo. But if you just look at it from this perspective, it just looks like two triangles and like a line in between them.
Here, you'll see it has a little bit more depth, and you'll see changes throughout. For example, we have a new image playground icon. If we scroll over here, some of the updates are things such as the App Store. The icons just look a lot better. If we go over here,
I've seen some people hate on them, especially on macOS specifically. I've seen people hate on the new Finder icon. To each their own. I never hated the liquid glass icons, as obviously I won't be hating them ever so slightly adjusted now, but yeah. Let me listen to myself one more time, see if there are any issues here. Okay, seems like the audio issues are, if not resolved, then I hope they're so far minimized that they don't impede anybody's enjoyment of the stream. Yeah, they're sharper, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I liked the mail icon. To me is actually a bit of a downgrade. Like I like that diffused glass look on top. A little bit similar to that on the Photos app. I actually think I'm getting more glass vibes. It actually looks to me much more like individual glass elements that are overlaid. Here, I do think there is some prettiness here because the colors are more vibrant, but it feels more basic in a way. Benvini saying his audio is not coming out for me. Wait, which audio? Why am I constantly running into technical issues? It's like every stream has new issues. Did I? I think the icon are much better and high resolution. Wait, yeah, like everything that I've commented on here, it's not so important to listen to solo, but like, Jesus. macOS audio capture, remove. I'm just gonna put that in there. I'm gonna add macOS audio capture again. It's like something is really teasing me Wait, the video's audio? Yeah, I know what you guys mean. It's just I'm a little bit perplexed that every new stream I have new tech issues, even though my tech setup has been the same for over a year now. Desktop audio capture. So that should work. macOS audio capture. Let me just. You guys cannot see what I'm doing in OBS because OBS is turned off. Of course, during the week where I have my most important streams, of course, this is when I suddenly have my tech issues, right? I didn't have them last week. I didn't have them the week before, but I have them now. Great. So let's go back like 20 seconds, and I'm just going to listen to what he has to say here.
A lot more contrasty, such as the mail icon. You may not be able to see it in this video, but it's definitely a lot easier to see. And the shimmering effect around the icons has been removed. So some of it's a lot more contrasty, such as the mail icon. You may not be able to see it in this video.
Wait, but now I have the recording issues. Okay, now I can actually hear them after seeing I'm trying Stage Manager on my Mac. Yeah, I like Stage Manager. I don't think it's to blame here in my tech issues. I think that it's probably OBS having some issues with probably macOS 27. The audio buzzes when you start playing. Wait, does it disappear after I start playing it? You know what I can do here instead is I can now disable audio capture again, remove, and maybe we can just restart macOS screen capture in general. So what I'm going to do is going to make myself as big as possible because I do need this stuff solved anyway, right? So if these are small issues that will persist, that's much worse. We can solve them together, right? So thank you guys for letting me know. It's much better to have those issues now while we are on a relatively short stream. I don't want it to screw up my future iPhone streams, whatever. So we're going to remove macOS screen capture in general. Going to add macOS screen capture. Display capture, yes. Display for macOS. Videos on top. My Mac stuff can now get smaller. You guys get a great insight. Like this would be literally dead air on live television, but hey, instead you get an insight into my tech stuff. And yeah, you can see my Stage Manager. Whenever my Stage Manager is there, but there's seemingly no app open, that means that I have OBS open because OBS is set up to not appear on screen for you guys. Even I had issues with YouTube on my iPad after updating. Yeah, so it was probably not the smartest decision to update on my Mac. Hopefully by beta 2, a lot of this gets fixed. So now I've changed some stuff. macOS screen capture. I just went to hide OBS again. Okay. Thank you guys for your patience so much. The videos were freezing and black screen issues. Yeah, like betas do have issues, sometimes completely unexplainable ones. So I'm not surprised here. So I've reset it all up again. And I'll have to listen to myself again. So please forgive me for that.
Video, but it's definitely a lot easier to see, and the shimmering effect around the icons has been removed as you're moving the phone around, so those are gone. If we switch to dark icons, again, it's a little bit better as far as contrast and being able.
Okay, now I should be.
I'll have to listen to myself again, so please forgive me for that.
Okay, now I get what was happening in OBS. Okay, seemingly that should have helped. Let me know. Maybe I'm too optimistic. Hopefully, it doesn't screw up in the middle again if we don't change anything. But hopefully, we don't have to change anything anymore. But you guys see, by the way, how much more relaxed I am when it's not a major stream and where there are some tech issues. But it really annoyed me when it happened twice during the actual WWDC stream. And mind you, this had nothing to do with betas. I was completely not to blame for any of the tech issues there. Okay, good. I at least sound clear. So if we continue this, you can then let me know if there's still any issues. And then if at that point it doesn't work, I'll probably give this stream a rest and we can continue some other time, but hopefully it just works now.
To see that, and the best change has to do with the clear icons. So with the clear icons, you can see things a lot better. For example, take a look at the phone icon. It sticks off the page a little bit more. It has some shadowing behind it. It's just easier to see overall.
The photos icon is a clear downgrade in clear mode to me. I mean, again, I like this one. So this being slightly worse is not the worst thing ever, but I'm like, nah.
Now also on the iPad, we can see that we have an undo button. So if we press and hold, you'll see I changed it to clear icons.
Yep.
Tap back,
I found that myself. That's something that Mark Gurman had actually leaked.
So we now have an undo and
some
redo
kudos
button.
to Gurman.
I haven't seen this on iOS
leaks.
yet, but it's present on iPadOS. Another change has to do with app menu bars. So if we go into music, for example, it's all consolidated now where search is all in the same.
Let me listen to myself. Yeah, okay. It seems like everything's working. So you guys can let me know, but from everything that I see and hear, it looks pretty good.
Bar. We saw this in iOS 26 with different apps such as the App Store and games, but we see that in things such as podcasts, music, and all throughout now. Depending on what app you're going into, you'll see it will change based on the app, but basically all the app icons are the same across the bottom as far as the menus, just like we have in the App Store here. So it's sort of just making everything more consistent throughout. Also, one thing that's great is Liquid Glass with the new keyboard has been forced on third-party apps as well.
Yep.
So if we go into a third-party app here, so within Facebook, if I was to post
that's
here,
one thing that makes me wish I had iOS 27 on my iPhone. I just want it in Discord.
it's the same new keyboard that we've had in iOS 26 that's automatically available in iOS 27 on all apps. Also, there's a new battery icon. While it's not hugely different, there is a difference here, so I'm not sure you can tell, but you can see those side by side.
So you can see this same battery icon also on my Mac. Basically, the outline is gone. So previously, you had like this icon, this outline that had a gap between it and the actual battery. Now that's gone. Now it's just a battery. Like, yeah, I mean, it was just a battery before it, but you get what I'm coming at. You see it better when it's set to dark, so it's on a bright background. That extra large widget is something that I also think you should think about it a little bit philosophically. This is basically one home screen dedicated, one home screen page dedicated to one app. So, and this is something that Android has been doing for a little while. They've been trying it with more interactive stuff as well, where you can even edit some calendar entries right in the widget and things like that. They've mostly gone back from that in first-party app, but there are still some third-party apps that try to do that, and obviously you can still adjust widgets very much poorly in terms of size. So I'm not saying Apple is a big pioneer here, but you can see that Apple is very much saying, okay, you like just a giant list of content from your widget? And potentially more shortcuts, more controls, you can now dedicate a home page to it. So the amount of stuff where we now have all of these extra kind of shortcuts to system things where it's information from the weather app or your calendar entries, your actual shortcuts, your home controls, your media, the latest media that's available for you in the podcast app, or TV shows that you might have missed, right? You can now access so much stuff from the control center, from Siri, from the page to the left of your home screens, right? To a notification center, which is also lock screen, which also gives you that side page with widgets, right? There is so much customization now to the point where a lot of it feels kind of double and triple down on the same thing. But that's what happens. Ultimately, a lot of customization comes down to you want this here or you want the same thing over there, because there's only so much that Apple can do at some point with widgets and shortcuts. Obviously, like shortcuts this year I think are going to become much more important. So having a full page with shortcuts that you set up, which are now might be programmed by natural language input, dedicating a homepage to that now feels much more reasonable than dedicating it to shortcuts that take such a long time to set up.
As far as the control center, there's a slight change here as well. So if we go into the control center and maybe we want to start a timer, we can do that, and we have it jump right up into the dynamic island. So it looks a little bit different, and then again, it jumps into the dynamic
Beautiful
island if
interface.
you're activating it from the control
Very
center.
Apple-like,
So swipe that
just
away,
like the flashlight dynamic island interface.
but it looks a little bit different there. Also, notifications look a little bit different when they pop in. Now, I don't have any coming in right now. Let me see if I can trigger one. I sent myself a message, and you'll see it sort of pops in from the left. So that's what some of the rumors said, and it looks like it was true. It pops in, and then you can just swipe it away or tap on it for it to disappear. Also, if you have a song playing, and
that's because, again, if you think about it philosophically, let's look exactly how it animates.
No, I don't have any coming in right now. Let me see if I can trigger one.
Yeah, you can see it's a little bit more from the left, but it still seems to mostly come from like above. The thing is that now, because the center and the dynamic island is now your center for Siri, right? So now the right, or technically it's device left, but your right, that one is for control center, the center is for Siri, and the left is for notifications. So even though, of course, the notifications still get displayed across the full width, they come in from the left to symbolize that this is your notifications, this is your Siri, and this is your control center. Obviously, all of those UI elements will take up the entire screen when needed, but when it's only a small portion of it, or it's the starting animation of those, then they will indicate from which side or which side they're connected to.
And you'll see it sort of pops in from the left. So that's what some of the rumors said, and it looks like it was true. It pops in.
Also, one more thing that Gurman got right.
You can just swipe it away or tap on it for it to disappear. Also, if you have a song playing and you go into notifications, you can now swipe away the Now Playing menu. So you can swipe that off the screen.
Yeah, which I'm not sure why, but okay.
If you don't want it there. When it comes to the wallpaper...
Because now it's questionable, how do I bring it back? Because I definitely want it more than I do not want it.
There's some new updates here for customization and more. So if we go to edit this one, this is the new iOS 27 wallpaper, but you'll see the widget here, or the option at the top. There's a new option to combine not only the date, but also add the time to that. So we can add a time with an alarm or combine them together, and it looks a little bit different. So you'll see you have the option to combine it with more than one thing. So maybe stocks or something else, you can combine them together.
Oh, okay.
Also something else that's
I didn't actually know you could do more than time. That's nice.
Wallpaper itself. For example, we have dynamic, which I have on currently, where it changes throughout the day. You have the standard one, which is sort of a dark bluish purple color. Then gold is the main one, or sort of this beige one. And then you have color options where it's fully customizable.
Oh, so I did not know that at all. I did not know that at all, that you could customize the color. Oh, I've also been I've also been told that this spells 27. Okay.
Change it to whatever you'd like. Change it throughout. Go in here. That's the default one. Change it to black if you'd like. Maybe a bluish color. Or
I
purple,
love that bluish one. I think I might do that.
Whatever you'd like. whatever works best for you.
Again, not on my
Again, you
iPhone.
can change it to whatever works best.
Wait,
And
so
we can
they
also
do
generate
have this higher customizability on iPhone, but not the Mac. What the fuck, Apple?
our own wallpaper, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. We also have the option to extend a wallpaper that we've already set. So you'll see here's one from yesterday. It says generating spatial scene. We've had that before, but if we go in here, we can extend the wallpaper and it will actually fill it in just like it would before, but a little bit better using Apple Intelligence. Now, something that I know a lot of people will appreciate has to do with alarms and notifications. If we go into our settings, we'll go back here to the main page, scroll down to where we have sound and haptics, and you'll see that we have our ringtone volume.
Oh, yeah.
However, we now have some new options for alarms and timers and alerts and
So my problem, so I think this is great, and anybody who follows me on Discord and especially knows my interactions with Jimmy James, also long-term supporter of the channel, you guys know we have been asking for a system-wide sound control system similar to Fine-Tune on the Mac, which I seemingly have turned off right now. Yeah, I believe I mostly turned it off for my streams. So basically, we want per app level controls. We want obviously deep controls for stuff like individual system sounds. My question is, why are alerts connected to system sounds? Give me alarms and timers, that's fine. They are very much related. But then give me alerts and then give me system sounds separately. So yeah, if, they will show you, obviously he will show that. They will show their own volume bar if you disable matching the regular ringtone.
system sounds. We can have it automatically match the ringtone volume by default, but if we turn this off, we can now adjust either one of these. So if we want louder timers and alarms, we can do that, or alerts and system sounds. So
and by the way, I want this in Control Center as well. Like I want this, like even if you don't give me the full volume customizer, like the Windows control panel or the Fine-Tune Mac app, right? I want this these three sliders in Control Center, right? Don't just let me customize the regular volume. Let me customize ringtone, let me customize alarms and timers, and let me customize system sounds, right? And then alerts, I actually wouldn't mind if alerts matched ringtone. So my priorities here would be different because I sometimes would like to turn off system sounds, but then for in that moment, I would probably still want alerts and ringtone to be generally on. So even this customization is still not enough for me. And it's so stupid to me because Android has gotten that so right for so many years. When you just click on the volume button, it gives you a deeper control access to like 5 or 6 system level controls, including alarms and ringtones and whatever. And Apple should have done just that, but expanded on it even more with like full per app level controls and yeah, and of course even more settings for stuff like which app outputs to which output device. Like sometimes maybe one device, maybe one app should output to one AirPlay connection and the other should output to your wired headphones. Not saying that all of this will be useful to everyone always, but just give me those options, Apple. No, didn't know that. Or more correctly, is it should not shift, right? Because I think it would automatically shift because it adjusts the time when it understands it's in a new time zone, right? But I think the main idea here would be that sometimes, like if you are awoken at 7 a.m. because you want to, let's say you work from home, right? And then that's because you start work at 8 of your regional time, but then you're on vacation, you don't actually want to be woken up at 7 a.m. of the time of the region. You want to be woken up still at 7 a.m. of the time you set this up, because let's say you aren't on actual vacation, but maybe just visiting family, you still have to do some home office stuff. So you still want an alarm that sets for a time that's appropriate for when your work starts. I would have to play around with that alarm to see if all those functions are there. Oh, okay. So, guys, I think I'll wrap this up here because seemingly no matter what I do, there will still be some audio issues with it. I think I did a pretty good job at explaining what he was commenting about, but hopefully in a week, something will have changed, maybe some new OBS version. I apologize for being stupid enough to install the beta. It definitely screwing me over. Sorry. I still had fun, and I thank you all for joining. We'll continue the Zolotech video some other time. You'll still get full access to the video. I sometimes, whenever there are major technical issues, I'll delete the full video so it does not actually screw up with anybody who wants to watch a regular stream. And as I promised, you guys will get more content in the future as I get back from my small vacation after the weekend. I'll look into making shorts. I'll look into making regular video content, which might even be for now a little bit of a necessity if live streams might be a little bit more struggling with technical stuff these days. But hey, at least I'm very much confirmed in my precautions to not install the beta on my iPhone, right? Because the iPhone definitely don't want it to have similar issues to the Mac. Will I roll back? No. You know what? I'm gonna roll with it for now. If it actually causes bigger issues like at work, I might roll back. To be honest, my Mac needs a restore anyway, but I kind of don't want to restore to 26.5 or 26.6, not after experiencing 27. So my hope is that by beta 2, and hopefully it doesn't take too long for beta 2, that so much gets fixed that we won't have those issues anymore. Plus, again, whenever we don't react to a YouTube video, it seems like everything is doing fine. Even it's using the actual main camera rather than the telephoto camera, which was a bug that we experienced yesterday. But hey, that's part of the fun of the beta experience. And if it actually ends up hurting my streams in the long term, I might set it back, yes. But again, thank you so much for joining. To be honest, I am already a little bit tired, so it's probably for the best that I'm wrapping up, because I do have still work tomorrow, and then I have to pack my bags and then I have to wake up super early on Friday. So I actually think it's for the best for me to wrap up. But thank you anyway. Thank you to anyone who watched. Thank you to KSP Wonders for becoming a MarkTech Neo member. Shout out again to all MarkTech Pro Max members. So yeah, I actually had a lot of fun from Monday to now with WWDC. We will be having much more content, but KSP, you're joking. Lesson learned. Be this a lesson for you, because I'm learning the hard way right now. There are some bugs in betas, and if you tell yourself that macOS 27 is already more stable than macOS 26, which I said myself, it might feel like that from a broad operating system perspective, but once you look into compatibility with third-party apps and unexpected behaviors, you'll find you're much better suited to be running a release version, an official release version. That's just what I'm gonna tell you guys, and hopefully we have learned together. That's part of the streams, part of the fun of the shared experience. Guys, my last plea for now is for you guys to do the YouTube jazz, subscribe, like, share, and comment. Not just comment in the live chat, but also comment in the regular comment section. We have like 3 to 4 people who actually do that. It would be a great help if everyone else could do it. It helps a lot with the algorithm. YouTube is very much in love with the comment section, whatever. So you know the drill. And beyond all that, let me know what else you would like to see me cover next time. As I said, I'll see you in about a week, probably next Tuesday, maybe next Wednesday. So that's about it. And up until then, you can also follow me on Discord and on Twitter. You'll find the links in the descriptions, in the description of this channel. So that way you can interact with me beyond the streams. For the future, we'll also have even greater Discord integration where I'll be able to take in calls, which that will be extra fun, which for audio management issues in macOS 27. So probably it might make sense to roll back just for that, but we'll see. Thank you so much for all your support. I'll see you guys soon, but for now, this is MarkTech tuning out.